Among Us vs Fall Guys is the episode that gives me the most hope for Death Battle going forward. I know that sounds odd given we just got Bowser vs Eggman, and yes, that is the better episode in my opinion, but this episode does something that one didn't, and that's be bloody weird. The episode is strange and unusual. It plays with the format and knows to go beyond just being a basic 101 slugfest the way most episodes are. That's not to say they weren't doing that beforehand, but this is definitely the next step to give the show more variety, which I want. It gives me more hope for certain matchups like Manhattan vs Nixon that I don't think should be a straight up fisticuffs fight, because this also shouldn't be, and they pulled it off. You can probably tell I like this episode, but how much? And what about it do I like beyond just how weird it is? After all, Macho Man vs Kool-Aid Man was also weird, but I didn't really care much for that one. So what do I like about this? Well, let's see. But first, Edgeworth! You say you have an alibi for the time of the murder? Well, I say you're full of...
Nick, you continue to disappoint me. We are not reviewing Phoenix vs Makoto today. Today, we are reviewing Among Us vs Fall Guys.
Miles, shut up!
Kiss me. Guys, you are never going to believe this. I found a body. A dead body.
What? Where was it?
It was in navigation. We were on our way to McDonald's, and now our reservations are going to be pointless because someone thought it would be funny to commit first-degree murder.
Here, it's a bit suspicious that you specifically know it's first degree.
Why would you say that? Anyway, where was everyone?
I was talking with my wife Lois. I was busy being the most popular color in the spectrum.
I just killed Simon the Digger.
I was busy drinking G Fuel.
I was venting.
Wait. What?
I was...
No, not you. You, in the back.
I was busy drinking G Fuel, the sponsor of our reservations at McDonald's.
Alright, hold on. First of all, our McDonald's reservation has its own sponsor. Secondly, shut up. Secondly, do you have anyone that can back up your alibi?
Zero alibis, just like there are 0 calories, carbohydrates, or sugars in G Fuel. Your cheat code in a can.
Cheat code in a... What are you talking about? The reactor went moist critical like 5 minutes ago, and we are currently on the edge of blowing up, and you are busy drinking...
That's okay, because the drink also contains antioxidants and caffeine. All I need to do is pour it into the reactor, and it'll jumpstart it back into action.
It will jumpstart us into an inverted black hole that will kill us all. You're supposed to be drinking caffeine responsibly, and only if you're over the age of 18, which the reactor isn't. I built that 5 minutes ago.
That's correct. I should really be using the hydration range, which doesn't contain caffeine, allowing the reactor to enjoy the flavor without the risk of caffeine.
The Skeld is a light minute away from crashing into an asteroid. We are going to explode, and you're here advertising G Fuel.
There may be one asteroid in the way, but G Fuel has 50 flavors, and is available in tubs or cans.
Could you come with me for a second? I would like you to look out the window here. Do you see what is out that window? Correct. That is Unicron.
Hello.
You know, guys, I'm beginning to think Yellow's the imposter.
No. Was this what it was like for everyone else who got injected? 1 second, they know what it means to be alive, to move, to laugh, to love. Here, it's alone and cold. There's nothing. All I see is the vast emptiness of space, and it reflects my own inner psyche. We are a fleeting moment of being, a moment that has to come to an end eventually. And yet, I have one regret. One that will haunt me for the fleeting moments that I have left with this body. If only I headed to the link in the description and used the code BLOODRAKE for 20% off my order, perhaps things could have changed. But it's too late for me. I'm not a guy watching a YouTube video that could head to the description at any time for delicious G Fuel. I am a man who has made a mistake I can't take back. All I can do now is become one with the void. And let it envelop. Oh my god, there's a space McDonald's! Guys, we're gonna be okay!
This episode begins differently to the others this season, with an actual intro. Well, it starts with the funny Among Us sound as the title drops, but I mean like there's an actual intro. One that almost makes this feel like the most significant episode since Goku vs Superman, hilariously enough. This episode warrants its own build-up to the episode itself. I like this a lot. It added flavor to the episode, and this episode has plenty of flavor. This is a case where you couldn't really get annoyed with the lack of story coverage, because there's just no story in the first place. Not any major story, at least. So it just focuses on the versus side, right? Well, no, not really, because they supplement story with fucking weirdness and game mechanics. Among Us's analysis is mostly about the mechanics of the game, which themselves are most of the versus stuff anyway, and it devolves into the funny crossover stuff and shit. It's quite fun. I can definitely understand people not jiving with the, for lack of a better term, Among Us cutaway. I personally enjoyed it, but I can see there being people who don't like the way it pauses the pacing of the analysis. Yeah, I mean, it isn't that funny in my opinion. I think it's just kind of a neat little bit that plays into the characters I like. So I do get, if you don't give much of a shit about Jocelyn or Ringmaster or Dummy, how this 15-second intermission could detract from the analysis. Fall Guys I find a bit more fun, though that might just be because the Meteor then Big Bang joke and Boomstick's reaction is the perfect amount of self-aware humor that I just, that's funny. Yeah, I enjoyed the Fall Guys analysis. Laurel got to shine more than in the Amogus one, but that brings me to the amusing fact that the gameplay is just recorded by the DB crew, with names referencing characters and team members. It's quite cool. The editing is good too, as usual. There's lots of memes in this, which on one hand does make it feel a bit dated on arrival, but on the other hand, I mean, that's gotta be the point, right? This is a time capsule of 2020 made in 2024. It's a fun analysis. The fight is as usual the real star though. It's truly a unique and fucking weird one, and I'm all for that. It starts on the Skeld, with I guess the implication that it's the Beans and crewmates as friends are doing an Amongi. Like, my assumption is that this is part of what's being shown on TV. It's a lot of fun details on how this one starts. Yellow Bean and Blue Mate hug it out, which definitely has awoken the shipping heart in some people. Orange Bean freaks out, Green Bean cowers, Pink Bean runs around manically, White Mate palms, Peter Griffin immediately tries to get some tasks done, Me whips out a tablet, Blue Sus immediately reveals themselves as the imposter in a blink and you'll miss it bit, and strangely enough, also Me, I guess, seems to stand around unsure of how to act, and then freaks out once the other beans do. Blue Sus immediately kills Peter, and man, this animation is so nice. It's full of life throughout the entire thing and looks amazing. The ambience of the Among Us plane is perfect, as is the course later. And I assume, just like Bill's Cypher last year, the simplistic designs of the characters made it easier to fit in the time to really make them expressive. This episode is mostly hand-drawn, and I have to imagine the very simple designs of the characters is what made that so possible. Immediately everyone gets ejected though. Strangely enough, I am telling you to shut the fuck up, but you probably didn't notice that over how adorable this all is. They all land at the start of a Fall Guys course, and I'm sorry, but I do have to levy a small complaint. A small thing, but I did immediately notice it. They look extremely flat in this shot. I know why that is, they literally are just drawings that have been left as is as the 3D camera moves around them. It's not a big deal, but it did distract me a bit. It's only emphasized by the fact that once they start moving, they suddenly stop looking out of place. They actually begin to have depth again. All the crewmates not knowing what to do until the beans start going is a fun touch though. Wonder why I had to do that too. Naruto run. We get a brief series of images representing the majority of the course, with the amusing addition that while the Fall Guys just tank daily, results in a crewmate getting fucking obliterated. Minecraft potion. There's this bit here with me standing on my own as everyone crowds, which is a pretty fun reference to the key strategy of this game, which is just see where everyone else goes and then just go there assuming they know what they're doing. Among Us. We get one of our only direct kills from a bean in this episode, with it being clearly an accident that shows off the stat gap with how the bean seems to not realize how fragile the crewmate is. Then the imposter fucking dies by mistake. Danganronpa reference, Kamakura Kamakura Yas Queen. This is unironically how I know that Laurel Winwood animated this bit. Pink Bean becomes a tumbleweed from Plants vs Zombies 2 and gets the crown. And then it turns out, oh no, the imposter. I was the imposter the whole time. Okay, full transparency. I know that this being purple is not a reference to me. The second imposter's color is taken from the purple guy from FNAF, which is not a joke, Origin confirmed it. I just can't help but feel like the purple one being the imposter and then trying to end the fight with Vor on multiple occasions is a personal attack or something. And yeah, people immediately noticed that Red Among Us was missing from the preview, which was definitely a bit sus. And here they is. There's this great stabby bit that's taken directly from Laurel Winwood's old fan-made DB preview, which pretty much got this matchup started in the first place. But the joke here is just so fucking stupid, I'm convinced it's something I would have written, where the confused imposter attempts to stab itself and fucking yelps in pain. The comedic timing and animation and expressions are perfect. The whole bit is in fact pretty perfect. This is the only time in the fight that one of the beans genuinely throws hands under the assumption that they're being attacked, and the sheer beatdown the bean gives is fucking great. The imposter's expression is hilarious the whole time. The pugilistic brutality is on point, I love it. I guess you could say the slap bit might also be a Larry reference, but that one seems a bit less concrete. And look, Banana Bomb, that's fun too. The Bean then loses the crown and immediately tries to get it back, and I can't help but take the Henry Stickmin teleporter moment as outrage from the imposter at the fact that they got immediately ignored the moment they left the Bean's vision. Everyone from before then comes back. I like that the crewmates are all ghosts here too. This is pure chaos now, so let's try to look at what's really happening because this entire bit is full of fun touches that I want us all to appreciate. Orange Bean becomes Pac-Man, Peter Griffin shields the crown from Yellow Bean and then gets eaten by aforementioned Pac-Man. You can very faintly see the constellation of Macho Man and Kool-Aid Man too. The imposter does the spinny planet bus taking out 2 of the beans. You can very vaguely see a triangle shape, which I assume is a Bill Cipher reference, but Pink uses the TARDIS to escape as Pac-Man eats the other imposter and fucking dies. Pink comes back and brings out the Master Sword, and you can even hear it say, "I have the power," in the weird fucking voice that it has. And the imposter literally draws its own sword. Fun. Visual pun. During the sword fight that's really fun, you can spot the constellation the Fall Guys can make. There's also something behind this asteroid, I'm not sure what. Space Hawaii? Flat Earth reference? You decide. This thing also looks like something that I'm not sure what either. That's just straight up the Boomerang Nebula. There's this thing, whatever the fuck it is. A bunch of faces hovering around a black hole. I think that's a Mogi Ringmaster. I spot Unicron too, but I don't see Galactus. I'm sure he's here somewhere. I think I also asked for this during the prediction. Some lightning thing that shows their fucking skeletons against each other. Fantastic. And I guess I should note that this whole bit spinning around through space and the way the camera work is very reminiscent of the Vampire Survivors trailer. Is it a trailer? I don't remember. But it's very reminiscent of that and it fits perfectly. That's Rocket's orbital stash of booze too. We then get an amusingly characterful ending. The Bean abandons the fight to get the crown and the imposter chases after, even using the amusing buff arms. The Bean nearly gets it, only to be stopped in the last moment. They see the Amogus reflected in their prize. They don't see a threat, they see a fellow competitor. Someone who will DORE upon victory, carried by crowds of beans, somehow making Pink homeless, next to this thing and I guess a head crab. The imposter will grow old and star in an award-winning Pixar movie that is Biff Weed's most hated movie of its decade. This fucking meme that is also the imposter's best friend, dressing up the crown as... Is that a fucking Queen Elizabeth II reference? And reading Diary of a Wimpy Crewmate? Alright, just kill it, Bean. The Bean takes the crown and delivers a kill so brutal and gory, they cannot show it on television, making for an actually good off-screen kill due to the implication, and ending with the joke that Star vs. Steven failed to land. Compounded with the go to default dance, though I will say, that crown is not layered right, it's behind the Bean's head, it is not floating above its head, it is behind it, and it is not lying on its head like on an angle because it's not angled right. Oh, that's so annoying. 0 out of 10 episode, what a shit anime. That was pretty much just a play-by-play, I'm aware, but it's just really fun. But kind of like Omnilander, I can absolutely see where the problems would be for some people. Now, despite what I'm about to say, I'm not going to go saying that these are not genuine criticisms just because I don't get bothered by them. But these are things I don't get bothered by, but I'll bring them up. The two sides don't interact much for the majority of the animation, because it's not really much of a crossover any more than visually. The bit on the Skeld would not be changed if the Beans were also crewmates, and aside from the excessive bloodshed, most of the obstacle course wouldn't change if the crewmates were also Beans. I personally still found it quite fun, but I can completely understand why someone looking to see more interaction would be underwhelmed by the first half of the fight. It's pretty much just build up for the actual fight that begins halfway and ends pretty quickly. Most of the big fighting between groups is really easy to miss because of how quick it is. To me it added to the chaos, but I can understand why some people would have preferred to be able to more clearly see what was going on. Now the actual fight part I can't see much criticism for. It shows off the higher speed of the Bean with it dodging attacks easily, but also the difference in killing intent with how the imposter lands a blow just because the Bean chooses to cower instead of dodge, and the Bean immediately dominates in raw strength. This is a little muddled by the way the conclusion words things, but it makes sense the Bean is physically stronger. I can see the argument that the fight is super one-sided, because it is. The first half is played for comedy, so I don't mind, and the second half does involve the imposter killing several Beans once it gets serious, and the Bean doesn't actively dominate the imposter until the end, but yes, it is technically one-sided because the imposter never really gets an advantage. The ending even shows that it killing the Beans didn't do anything. But with the silliness of the fight, I don't mind that much. These are things I can understand if they bother you. The lack of interaction for most of it, it definitely doesn't scratch the itch of a direct fight between the Among Us and the Fall Guys. But for me personally, that's kind of what I like. These aren't characters that fight, really. The Among Us kill each other, but they don't throw hands within their own game to my knowledge. And Fall Guys is a big obstacle course, not a fight. This marries the two well, while managing to still naturally work a fight in there anyway. It gives me hope for matchups that I normally wouldn't be all that for. Matchups that I'd still be a little tentative to say I'm up for on Death Battle, but I can now see being possible. Like I said, Manhattan versus Nixon, two characters who don't really throw hands, and where a direct, bombastic fight I think just wouldn't really fit them, especially Nixon. But if Death Battle are willing to experiment like with this episode, then maybe they could make it work. I think this episode is super fun. It's creative, it's imaginative, it's a great time. I won't deny people the right to criticize it, but personally those criticisms don't bother me and don't hinder my enjoyment. Though I'm totally okay if they bothered you. I can't tell you that no, you weren't bothered. And I have to be extra clear with how I word that, because people have fucking assumed that when I say, I understand the criticism but it didn't bother me, what I mean is that I don't think the criticism is real and that you're wrong. That's not what I mean, shut up. Also, we got another post-fight bit, I like this especially. I can't deny I'm getting a little bit tired of the category thing though. I like it occasionally, but I really just am not looking for this to be consistent. It can help feel more organized, but at times it can just feel like it stifles the flow of the conclusion. And I think this is one of those cases for me. Not sure how to put it, but I'm just not into it when it's used every time. I don't vibe as much. The offense bit I also think is a bit specifically worded. What they mean to say is that the Among Us's weapons have a higher damage output than the beans, and that's it. But the simplification of it as offense can give the impression that they're saying that the Among Us generally are stronger, while also mentioning speed as if it matters literally at all given what they bring up later. I have seen people confused under the assumption that they're saying the Among Us are physically stronger than the beans, which that's not what they're saying, they're just saying the gun's stronger. They bring up keeping the opponent dead in the defense category, which I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me being pedantic, but defense, the act of protecting yourself from harm, is only tangentially connected to raw durability as it is, but I can understand it. The ability to resurrect from the dead doesn't feel right. I know it's in the pause between defense and the bizarre, but Wiz does say they can take it even further in reference to defense. The wording of death negation feels odd too. Becoming a ghost isn't death negation. At least, not without, Death negation to me would mean you don't become a ghost, because you just don't die in the first place. Death wasn't negated, they still die. Death just isn't the end for them. Again, pedantic, but it was a bit weird to me. The bizarre segment I have no issues with though, that's very fun, it was quite amusing. They must have known what they were doing with tunnel vision in this bit though. You don't just casually drop those words in the community after the Billcore incident of 23. Bringing the Among Us cutaway back at the end was fun though, I like that a lot. The episode is fun, very fun, and I can't deny I might have a little bias. Larry Winwood is a friend of mine and he campaigned hard for this episode. He got it and even got to work on it as an animator. It's awesome, I love seeing it. One day I'd love to work on Death Battle myself, but I can't animate for crap, and why would they hire me as a voice actor when they have real voice actors to use? Larry though, that man can animate, and you can tell by the fact that this episode looks great. There's not any moment where the sprites or hand-drawn bits look notably worse than any other. In fact, I wouldn't even call this a sprite episode. It's 70% hand-drawn. It's a hand-drawn episode that occasionally has sprites, not the other way around, making this the only year where we'll have more hand-drawn episodes than any other animation style. And that shows to me, Larry has everything it takes to be a consistent animator on Death Battle. I don't know if he will be, but it'd be cool, because I really like Larry. He's a cool guy. The music is cool too. I feel like Sussy Beans just is not a very amusing name personally. The ones that are uber serious are much funnier to me. The track works great for the fight, though I can't see myself revisiting this one on its own much. Among Us vs Fall Guys is a really fun episode. Though, despite all the fun details, like the ending being too violent for TV or all the hints that Purple Guy was an imposter the whole time, it's one that I don't have a lot to say about. It's just, yeah, it's fun. It's not an episode that gives me much to criticize like Omnicock, it's not an episode with a huge number of power interactions like Gioka, or an episode with a surprising amount of narrative and character depth like Bow's Egg. It's just Among Guys, a silly, dumb, fun episode that aims to be fun. And it's fun. Fun. The animation is fantastic, analyses are fun, the fight is amusing and creative and unique. I enjoyed it. And that's it for the 2024 output. Next year begins with Kratos vs Azura, a matchup you should all know I'm just not a fan of and don't really care about. I'll still be there to watch it, even if it definitely should have been episode 2 to keep up the bit, and hopefully it'll be good. I might do a video ranking the 2024 episodes, though it might be clear from how I've talked how the episodes will go. Who knows. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed the review. If my voice sounded a bit weird, I've been feeling a bit off lately. Can't help it. That's also why I was a bit less excitable during the reaction. I know some people really didn't like that. I'm sorry, I couldn't help that. But, you know, it is what it is. Thank you to Red Runner, Hype Starman, and Gumball Viking, all linked in the description, for joining me for the ad read, which was really fun to do. I like doing the really like silly ones. I guess all the ones I do are kind of silly, huh? Yeah. So tell me what you thought of the episode below and overall the season. I mean, season's not really the right word. The 2024 output. Tell me what you thought. I don't know why my guy's always listening off to my left side. Okay. So yeah, just let me know what you think. I'm gonna try to get through this quickly because it is really, really hot right now. I thought... Nah, okay. So yeah, if you want to support me, you can go to the link in the description and click on the Patreon, which these lovely people all have. Thank you to all of them. There's even a tsundere in here, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so if you do that, you can make me say stupid stuff on my Patreon-only Discord, which is stuff like... Alright. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that either. I don't want to say that. I instantly regret this. That is true. Banana. I'm not convinced that isn't how Americans say banana, is banana. It just feels like the way they would say it. That is a crab on a crocodilian, I believe an alligator, based on the jaw. Oh, well, yeah, the teeth aren't like really sticking out, so it can't be a crocodile. It doesn't have like the long snoot of a gharial. It doesn't have the adorable eyes of a caiman, so I assume it has to be an alligator. No, not reading that. Read out the tweet I forgot last time. Okay, what is it? Just watched Moana with my nephew, and this Maui guy can change into anything from a hawk to a shark? Fucking awesome? Is this because I did just watch Moana this year for the first time? I mean, I assume for the first time. I genuinely don't remember if I've seen it before. So, yeah.
The age of imposters has ended! No more venting! Follow me, and you will never be among us again! Fall down!
Oh, a visitor?
Mr. Fall Guy, your game show has invaluable resources for the crewmates of Polis. I will be seizing them.
Polis? What an exquisite place to start a blunderdome.
I know if it's pronounced Polis or Polis. I don't care.
Two beans fighting for the crown! To make the claim, they will tear every bean down!
Ah. Nah, my phone hurts too much to do the rest of that.
A mongoose is a small terrestrial carnivorous mammal belonging to the family Herpestidae. This family has two subfamilies, the Herpestinae and the Mongotinae. The name mongoose is derived from names used in India for Herpestis species, mungus and mangus. In classical Hindi, mungus in Marathi, mungisa in Telugu, mungi, mungisi, and munguli in Kannada. The form of the English name since 1698 was altered to its goose ending by folk etymology. It was spelled mongoose in the 18th and 19th centuries. The plural form is mongooses, not mongeese.
How dare you! Keep your hands off my crown!
I'm not the imposter. On my honor as a bean, I will expose the sus with my life! Red sus. Yeah, okay. Have a greatly amazing day, everyone. That's the end of that. I did not want to read half of that out, because half of that was just pure brain rot, but you got to see it anyway, because I'm an asshole. Yeah, that will be that. It's really hot. I want to go. Have a good one. Tell me what you thought below, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Whenever credits are, it drops.
Among Us.